A new video surfaces of al-Qaeda making threats to attack American soil once again. At the same time, New York City's mayor decides to scrap a surveillance program aimed at tracking Muslim extremists. Are we going too PC? A law enforcement panel, a very distinguished law enforcement panel, I might add, joins us now to discuss. Former NYPD detective and president of CMP Group Investigations, Thomas Ruskin. Former FBI Special Agent, Joint Terrorism Task Force, and former Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam, and Steve Rogers, also former FBI and Joint Terrorism Task Force. Great to have you guys here. Appreciate it. All right, so Tom, let's start with you. Back in 2012, an NYPD chief testified that this surveillance program, which was very controversial, it got a lot of play in the papers and in the media because of its controversial nature, you know, spying on Americans, spying on our own people, the NYPD spying. This chief testified that this program hadn't generated a lead or triggered a terror investigation, and that was a couple of years ago. Mayor de Blasio has disbanded it. What's the NYPD saying about this, and what do you think about this?
Well, what I think about it is there's too much been said about it. That's the first thing. When you have an intelligence network and you're running counterterrorism investigations, the last thing that you want to know, and these guys know very well, is you don't want it to be public. There have been many times that I have been in the room when you're deciding on programs and the decisions are being made and being discussed, and ultimately the police commissioner and the mayor are deciding where they're going to go. It's based on intelligence and it's based on information, and sometimes it's proactive and sometimes it's reactive based on a complaint or something that's come in. For it to be out there in the public defeats the purpose of what you're doing.
Jonathan, I got to ask you, the Mayor Bill de Blasio has really been criticized for this move. What are your feelings about de Blasio's move and just overall in general the program itself and how effective it has been?
Well, let's start with de Blasio. Okay, first off, when you have a mayor who's pretty much an activist, he's going to say things like he just did last week, where he's talking about how ending this is going to, kind of mend the rift between law enforcement and the Muslim community. And I'm not sure what...
So that our citizens can help one another go after the real bad guys,
right.
Is what he says.
But if they don't have a solution, if they don't have another program that they want to put in place, these activists, whether it be the ACLU or, I'm not calling Muslim leaders activists, but they have an interest in this, but you have to have some type of a program to police their own. There is a reason that these things are out there. There is a reason why the FBI, the NYPD have Overwatch, and that is because we're at war with an Islamic group that has targeted the United States. So unless they have a program that's going to fill that void, this is where you have the problem, is that whether or not this was 100% effective, that's not the real problem that you have here. Removing the program creates a void, and nefarious people always fill that void.
Conversely, you've got critics of the program who say, well, this is what the FBI is for. This is what, the CIA overseas is for. This is the NYPD should be focusing on community crime, not the overall terrorist aspect of it in terms of surveillance. Now,
And therein lies the problem. Look, first of all, to follow a little bit of what Jonathan said, I believe the mayor has not only put the city, the people in the city of New York at grave risk, but the nation at grave risk.
In what way?
Well, the best information, the best intelligence comes from the people in their neighborhoods, from their homes, from their schools, from their workplace. And the way you get that information filtered up to the federal government is through your local law enforcement. The NYPD and the FBI and the other agencies, national security agencies, have worked very well together over the past 10, 15 years, and I truly believe they have prevented a number of attacks against this country. And let me just add this, that it is very, very important to understand that these surveillance programs weren't blanketing the entire Muslim community, for goodness sakes. Surveillance operations are established by intelligence and information that's analyzed, and that's how you determine your target.
You hear about somebody at a specific mosque, you go into that mosque, you infiltrate that mosque, or infiltrate that neighborhood, or infiltrate that restaurant.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Exactly.
Are you concerned because of this new video that's come out from Al-Qaeda? What is this saying?
There's always, we need to stop being concerned because a video came out. Our concern should always be that we are a target, period, and especially in New York.
Right.
There is no bigger target than New York. And when you have, security guards sleeping at, World Trade Center, when you have things happening where somebody can there's cars, you can drive a car into Times Square any time of the day.
And to Steve's point, we know that the NYPD and the Joint Terrorist Task Force has stopped dozens of attacks on New York City. Some of the ones specifically was the attack on Union Square Station, the attack, the guy who was coming from Denver with all the cleaning supplies, who was looking to blow up New York City. These are things that the Joint Terrorist Task Force, the FBI, and the NYPD, working in correlation with each other, have stopped over the years.
And our leadership has to stop worrying about being politically correct and kowtowing to special interest groups and worrying about their responsibility, which is what? To protect the American people.
There's finally the question that I always feel whenever I see this type of thing happen is, are we less safe now because of this move? Yes or no?
Oh, I believe we are now.
Yes?
Not yesterday.
Absolutely.
Don't know.
That's frightening. All right, well, hopefully the answer is no.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right, gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. All right, coming up, more